I'm Lowry, ThePrettyPOTSie, and I am coming to you today to talk a little bit about triggers for POTS, which is Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome. I first just want to say thank you for taking the time. I know there's so many things you could be doing right now, but you are watching me, and I just appreciate it. I want to spread awareness of POTS, and I want to help people with POTS and people who are friends and family members of POTS peeps, and just help them along the way, give them information, and just support them. So today I want to talk about triggers for POTS. These are some things that bother me. Some things are very obvious, and other things you may not have ever thought of. I've had POTS for a little over 2 years now, and I have really learned a lot of the triggers and things I can avoid to help with my symptoms. One of the most frustrating aspects of POTS is the fact that we never know how we're going to feel on a given day. We might feel really good one day, and we might feel really bad the next day. It makes it hard for us to plan our life, to say yes when we get invited places, and just to do the things that we need to do on a daily basis. We just don't know how we're going to feel. And so I've isolated some triggers that have helped me along the way and helped me to know how I might feel after certain things. I think the first trigger that I want to talk about today is being dehydrated. So us POTSies have to stay really hydrated. A lot of us have a low blood volume, but even if you don't have a low blood volume, the fact that a lot of the blood pools in your legs and your lower half of your body means that you don't get enough blood to your brain. And that is the start of a lot of our symptoms. So the number one trigger is being dehydrated, not having enough fluid to build our blood volume. So it's very, very important to drink a lot of water, and in conjunction with that, to have electrolytes or sodium to help us hold on to the water. Now, you could drink water all day long. You could drink 3 gallons of water, but it's going to go right through you. In fact, it's going to flush out minerals that your body needs. So it's not about just drinking, it's about drinking the right way. And the right way to drink fluids when you have POTS is to balance it out with your sodium and your electrolytes. So I will have water, and then I'll have an electrolyte, and then I'll have water again. So I try to mix it up. And I also try to have my sodium, my salt, I have 10 grams about a day, and I try to spread that out throughout the day so that it's helping me hold on to my water. I wouldn't want to have a whole bunch of salt at once without a fluid, or a whole bunch of fluid at once without an electrolyte or a sodium. So if you're giving your body enough fluids and enough electrolytes and sodium to hold on to those fluids, already you're going to feel better, and you're going to start the day feeling good. On the flip side of that, one of my big triggers is alcohol. Alcohol dehydrates you. So when you're drinking a lot of alcohol, it has properties in it, diuretics in it, that are going to flush out extra fluids. So you really want to avoid alcohol. Now, I like to have fun. I like to be social when I can, and when I'm having a good day, sometimes I just want to have a glass of wine with my husband or a cocktail with a girlfriend if I'm on vacation. We recently went to Mexico, and I would have a little bit of tequila. So you have to build your blood volume prior to the alcohol, and then you have to do it afterwards. So even someone without POTS is going to need to rehydrate after drinking, but because we have POTS, we have to add a lot of extra fluids and sodium. So have a little bit of salt with your tequila, have a Propel after your cocktail, and that will really help you if you have to have alcohol or you really want it. And just be prepared. Even if you have one drink, you're probably going to feel bad the next day. That's just how it's going to be because we have POTS. So there are a lot of other little things that trigger my POTS. One thing are fluorescent lights. And this is something that you may not have realized. I have heard from other POTSies that fluorescent lights really bother them. I don't really know why, but something about the light, maybe it has a little flicker to it. And when our brains already are at a loss and they are overcompensating for not enough blood flow, it's almost like too much stimulation. So if I go somewhere like my kid's school or an office building that has fluorescent lighting, I know I'm going to be done for. Sometimes I can't even finish what I'm trying to say by the end of being in fluorescent lights for a while, and the drive home is going to be horrible. I just know it. So here's a trick. Blue light blocking glasses, they really help. It's not a gimmick. They really do make glasses that block blue light. And blue light is something that comes from our phones and our TVs, and it really helps me during the day when I'm around fluorescent lights or on my phone or watching TV. It really helps to block those rays from getting into my eyes and from bothering my brain. So that's a way we can avoid triggers like fluorescent lights. Something else to do with lights, if us POTSies go from a light to a dark situation or vice versa, a dark to a light situation, our pupils and our eyes, that is part of our autonomic nervous system that is in charge of those pupils, and it tells them when to dilate and when to constrict. So for instance, if you've just seen a movie and it's dark and you're gonna go right outside where it's sunny, I live in Arizona, it's always sunny here, that's gonna hurt your eyes. Sometimes I even have to do this because closing them is not enough. I have to cover them. So always have sunglasses on you for times like that. I was recently at a play at my child's school and it was dark for the play. And then when the play ended, they turned the lights on and it felt like needles stabbing in my brain. Just that quick onset of light really bothered me. So I might look silly, but I have sunglasses on my head all the time, and I will just pop the sunglasses on if I know I'm going to be changing from light to dark or dark to light. It really helps my eyes adjust so that I don't get the POTS headache or the nauseousness right away. Driving in a car is a really big trigger for me. If I'm having a really good day, it doesn't bother me, but part of it has to do with the sun, and part of it has to do with emotion. And also at night, when you're driving at night, the lights coming at you, that can be a trigger for POTS. So if you're having a bad day, try to avoid being in the car or driving. And if you must, you can wear your sunglasses, wear your blue light blocker glasses. Be sure to hydrate really well beforehand and avoid eating a big meal before you're going to be in the car, because that can also make you feel worse. Speaking of big meals, that is a huge trigger with POTS. Our digestive system is part of our autonomic nervous system. And if we eat a big meal, we are taking what little blood we have left in our brain that's not pooled in our legs and our feet, and we are using that for digestion. So when we eat a big meal, I just basically say it's just sucking my brain. It is just sucking what little blood I have left in my brain to function on into my stomach to digest my food. So after a meal, stay off your feet. It's a good excuse, ladies, not to do the dishes, because once you've eaten, you really need to sit. You can't afford to lose any more blood from your brain. So I try to sit and be quiet after a meal, and that really helps. Having small meals helps. I'm gonna make another video on my diet and what I eat from my POTS, but I have found that heavy, carby, sugary meals require more blood to digest than having other things that aren't heavy in carbs and sugar. So I have found a diet that works for me. I will go into that in another video, but for now, trigger is eating big meals, big heavy meals. So if you have to eat a big meal, try to stay off your feet and try to relax afterward in a quiet space without a lot of talking, chatter. Restaurants can be really difficult for POTS. I get anxiety before I go to a restaurant because there's a lot of loud talking, there's bright lights, you're eating, you're having to focus on conversations with people, and you have to get up right afterwards. So that is like the perfect storm for a POTS episode, if I've ever heard of one. So you just have to plan ahead, you know, maybe go to a quieter restaurant, not eat as much, pack half your food up in a doggy bag to take home for later so that you're not overdoing it, okay? I have a list here. Oh, here is a big one, and I'm gonna talk about it. Men might be watching this too, and if you're a man and you have POTS, you're lucky that you don't have periods, because periods are a huge trigger for POTS. I believe in part it's due to the blood loss, so that our blood volume gets even lower during our period, but I think a lot of it has to do with our hormones. When I'm about to get my period, I get the worst headache. I know it's coming, and it always bothers my digestive system. It typically changes, and I'll get cramps and loose stools. Sorry, TMI. But guys, don't plan to do anything the first day of your period. If you're irregular, that's going to be really difficult, but load up on your fluids and your sodium. Try to stay off your feet as much as you can, and just try to pamper yourself. That's the time to relax, because there's just no avoiding periods, ladies, and it is a big trigger for POTS, okay? So you can't avoid it, but just try to know that's when you're not gonna feel well. There may be some of you who it doesn't bother, but it bothers me. I'm pretty much out of commission at least the first couple of days of my period. And we talked about riding in a car, lots of noise. I mentioned it when I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating and I don't like to have a lot of stimulation, but people with POTS, when they're not getting enough blood flow to their brain compensates. And some of the ways it compensates, it can't handle a lot of extraneous circumstances. It can't handle noise. It can't handle flashing lights. My worst nightmare is being in a room with a ton of people with like 100 different conversations going on. It's almost like an oversensory stimulation, and I can't handle it. My brain will almost shut down to the point that I have to bend down or sit down or just walk away. I just can't handle it. And it makes me seem really antisocial, and people without POTS just can't understand. But when it's too much, and your brain literally just kind of shuts down. And some people can't talk. Some people get shaky. Some people will pass out. And, you know, it's just a part of having POTS. So try to avoid really loud, overcrowded areas, especially when you're having a bad day. The last couple of things I want to talk about, you probably know about. If you have POTS, you're probably very familiar with dry shampoo. It's like my favorite product, because showers are a big trigger for POTS. Something that people do every day and take for granted. A shower is like a major event for me. I have to plan ahead, because the warm water in the shower, it opens your blood vessels and it causes even more blood pooling in your legs and in your feet. And when you're in the shower, you're standing still, but you're also using your hands, and you're shaving. You're using a lot of energy. Your heart is racing because you're standing still, but there's even more blood pooling in your legs and your feet because of the warm water. So I have a couple of tricks that I do for showers. For starters, I try to hydrate really well before a shower, and I try not to eat before a shower, because I don't want any extra blood in my stomach for digestion. I want it all up in my brain as much as I can get up there. I have a bench in my shower, and I try not to take too long of a shower. I try to use lukewarm water. Sometimes when you're shaving, you have to have warm water. I will sit on my bench, and then I'll just put my foot in the water while I'm sitting when I need warm water. And then always rinse with cold water at the end of your shower. Not only is it good for your hair and it'll keep it shiny, but it's going to constrict your blood vessels and help keep that blood up when you're done with your shower. And then right when I get out of the shower, I put on compression socks, and then I lay down for a little bit. So it's like shower and relax. You can get a sheet mask and put it on your face and give you an excuse to lay down and put your feet up for a little bit after your shower. There's also something else I do, and I'm going to make a video on that. I do dry brushing before every shower, and that really helps with my POTS. I want to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Those of you who work full-time and have POTS, a big trigger is looking at a computer screen and numbers and focusing on little details. So if you're inputting, data input back and forth, that's going to be a big trigger for you. So try to do it in small chunks of time if you can. And you can also wear the blue light blocking glasses, which will help. So that's the list that I had today for POTS triggers. If anyone has triggers that I left out, please comment on this video. I can always make another video or amend this one. And I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm going to try to put out several videos a week with really good information on POTS and dysautonomia and ways to live and ways to feel better. I've got my flowers back here. I got these flowers for myself as a celebration because I have kept POTS kind of hidden. I was afraid to share POTS with friends and with people beside friends and family because, it's just so hard for people to understand. It's an invisible illness. And I was ashamed and I was afraid. But I got flowers for myself this week because I'm sharing my story and I'm being vulnerable and I'm telling people that I have POTS and I want to support others that have POTS and get support. And so that's why I'm doing this. That's why I started ThePrettyPOTSie. And thank you so much for being involved in my journey. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again for your time. And hopefully this video has helped with learning about triggers and things we can do to avoid having a bad day. Thank you so much, and until next video, bye.